Welcome to an extra Friday Faceoff today, a little draft round table. We don't have a big table, and it's not really round. I don't know. It's trapezoidish. Welcome to our studio. Eric Chase, Matt Shepard from Shep in the Morning. Do a little draft talk on WDFN.com as we await the second round tonight. Before we get to that, we're taking calls today. Nobody's unhappy with Riley Reiff, right? He fell to them.
Yeah, I don't think people are unhappy with it. Some people wanted a more sexy pick. No offensive lineman is going to be a sexy pick. Detroit has a lot of needs. Corners, backup linebackers. Offensive line has been a need for a long time in this town. People have complained about Jeff Backus and Dominic Raiola almost as much as they've complained about Brandon Inge. Now Detroit does something to address it, and people want more. I don't know how you're going to please everybody. You can't please everybody. This is a need, and it's a long-term solution to what has been a bit of a problem for this club in a while.
And Jonathan Martin was picked apart. Cordy Glenn was picked apart. Sure. And arguably, you had the opportunity to select one of two guys rated higher than those guys. We expected, Martin, Glenn. There's another name that's escaping me now. But to have Reiff and the choice of Reiff or DeCastro was probably pretty impressive to the guys at Allen Park. Nobody's perfect, not even Andrew Luck. It's a good pick. And, who's the most valuable player on the Detroit Lions?
Calvin Johnson, Matthew Stafford, one or the other.
Well, Calvin needs somebody to get him the ball,
right.
and Sean Hill did an okay job of that when he was filling in for an injured Stafford. But Matthew Stafford is the franchise. If I can keep him on his 2 feet, seeing the back of Calvin's jersey running away from defenders after the completion of a pass, and Riley Reiff can make that happen, I'm all for the pick.
I'm all for the pick, too. I think some people would have said, hey, you still have some guys like Branch up front, like Upshaw up front defensively, who you could have chosen. This is a guy who's going to start probably right away at the right tackle position. He's very athletic. He's very accomplished. He comes from a conference that is known as a mauling conference. Detroit needs to improve their running game since they were 25th in that area a year ago, and they want to protect the franchise. I'm all for it, too. Whether he plays left tackle or not this year, I think is irrelevant. I think he's going to play right tackle and then slide to left tackle. Brian Bulaga, another famous Iowa offensive tackle, did the exact same thing for the Green Bay Packers. That's not a bad model.
Reminds me of a guy the Eagles took 6-7 years ago from Saginaw Valley State, Todd Harriman, who has done nothing but play nearly every position on that offensive line for a long time.
But where did they take him?
Late in the draft.
Okay, that's the issue that a lot of people have. If you're going to nitpick it apart, people are under the assumption if you're going to take a franchise left tackle, he needs to go in the top, let's say, 10 picks of the draft, and then they believe anything after that, you can find that diamond in the rough, Michael Orr, later in the first round or even in later rounds. I would argue guys like Randall McDaniel, Bruce Matthews, you've had some unbelievable draft picks up front, and it doesn't matter. If it's a need and it's a value at that, and Riley Reiff was seen as a top 15 talent and the second overall tackle, and some say he's even better than Matt Khalil, why do you have to take him in the second or the third round, whatever? Fill the need with the best possible guy.
I like the fact that he's flexible. He can play just about anywhere on the offensive line. He'll be asked
Except for
to do
center,
it.
yeah.
And that's probably what he'll be asked to do if he doesn't grab a starting role in training camp this year. Let's segue, because now we open up the world a little bit. They got the offensive lineman. That's the first piece of the puzzle.
That's right.
What does Matt Shepard want Martin Mayhew to do in the second round?
Well, I hate to be elusive, but it depends on what is available. If you got a guy like Andre Branch still there, or a guy like Courtney Upshaw still there, I might consider that strongly. If there's Janoris Jenkins, if there's Tremaine Robinson, if there's Josh Robinson, I like all those guys too. I think you can wait till the third round to grab your running back. My guess is if you took a guy like Zach Brown, the linebacker out of North Carolina, that wouldn't be a bad second-round selection. All those names I just mentioned, outside of running backs, I could see Detroit taking it 55. I'll wait till 85 to get maybe a running back and maybe a guy who would fill out the rest of my defensive line.
Yeah, I agree. We'll have a lot to discuss on Monday as well.
It's going to be
fun. Last night was really exciting. I got to tell you, even breaking down the Browns giving up a boatload of picks, which obviously they did because they didn't have the money to pay for all those 14 picks.
And are they all going to play anyway?
And now Trent Richardson gets to go, hey, I was the first non-quarterback taken in the draft. A nice little thing for his mantle.
It might be the best player overall in this draft. You could make that argument.
It was fun. Just some quick. We can keep going here, Mr. Video Guy. Absolutely. Thanks for being here on WDFN.com. It pains my Philadelphia DNA to say this, but I got to tell you, so far.
Fletcher Cox?
No. I like the Fletcher Cox pick, but I got to say, when it comes, the two stars I got to give out for last night are, one, Jacksonville. identifying Justin Blackmon to say, all right, Mr. Gabbert,
Blaine Gabbert, here you
can
go.
stay on your feet. We got you a good receiver. And they knew they had to jump St. Louis to do it.
Yeah.
Points there. It was a fun first 10 picks, but a lot of credit to Dallas. They see what the league is all about. You got to get to the quarterback, and if you can't get to him, you got to knock down passes. They went and they got Brandon Carr from Kansas City in the offseason.
Yeah.
They said enough of this Mike Jenkins.
Grand Valley guy.
Enough of this Orlando Scandrick stuff. They let go of Terrence Newman. They got Brandon Carr, and they moved up last night to get arguably the best defensive player out there, Morris Claiborne, in a division where it's respect for Robert Griffin III, it's respect for Macklin and Jackson and Philly,
Eli Manning.
it's respect for Eli. That's a good move.
The only problem I had with that, I thought they were going to move up a little bit to get Mark Barron. I think Mark Barron is the most complete defensive player in the draft, but I'm not going to split hairs because Morris Claiborne's a hell of a player. The other team that I thought did a wonderful job is Cincinnati. I thought Dre Kirkpatrick, here's a guy who's a cornerback. He's one of the best corners in this draft. I think he's better than Gilmore, quite honestly, because Stephon Gilmore had a bad year last year for South Carolina. But Kirkpatrick, if he doesn't work out at corner, he could do what Rod Woodson and Ronnie Lott did and move to safety. And then they got Kevin Zeitler. He's the offensive guard out of Wisconsin, who's a mauler and is a really good run blocker. I think they did a heck of a job in round one.
I kept watching the first round of the draft going, that's a good pick.
Yeah,
that's a good pick.
me too.
Brandon Weeden to Cleveland, interesting. And even Bruce Irvin, the first surprise to Seattle. But
really stunned.
Pro Football Talk reports that, like 10 teams had him on their board in the first round. So I couldn't complain about too many of the picks and go, boy, maybe that's a reach. And it plays into my thinking heading into the first round. You got like 20 or 25 guys in the first round, in my opinion, who might not be Pro Bowlers or all pros, but you put these guys in and they're probably going to start from day one.
I thought Kendall Wright was a little bit of a reach for Tennessee, quite honestly. I thought they could have gotten him a little bit later. I don't mind the Weeden pick, but I think he could have gone maybe even in second round, but obviously Cleveland didn't feel that way. That kid can sling it and make every single throw. People are just down on him because he's age 29.
Right, but if he's good, he can play.
Who cares?
Peyton Manning is 35, 36 years old. It's interesting to me that they pumped up Colt McCoy for such a long time, and now we'll see if Whedon's going to go in there and win that job or how it works. Because again, if he doesn't win the job, then to me I think the age plays in a little bit. I don't want a 29-year-old sitting around waiting to learn the offense for a couple of years. Then, in my opinion, you waste the pick.
Agreed, but there's plenty of guys in the past who've sat behind established starters and then finally gotten their opportunity. Sure. They've just been in the league a lot longer.
Absolutely. Last night was fun. Tonight will be fun. And Monday will be fun. I wish the draft happened every week. It's a lot to talk about. Thanks for being here each and every Friday Faceoff stuff. Shep and I back and forth, and your thoughts and opinions as well at WDFN.com.